Africa, a continent that ignites the soul. Majestic landscapes, vibrant cultures, and people of incredible resilience. It's a place that draws you in, a place that stays with you, and while many nations have made incredible progress in terms of modernization and safety, there are still some places where caution is paramount. The US State Department issues travel advisories to keep its citizens informed about potential risks around the world. These warnings range from exercising normal precautions to avoiding travel altogether. In this video, we're diving deep into 6 African nations facing some of the most serious travel warnings. This isn't about fear-mongering. It's about responsible travel. It's about understanding the realities on the ground and making informed decisions. So whether you're an experienced adventurer or planning your first trip to the mother continent, join me and let's explore these advisories together. We begin our journey in the heart of Africa, in the Central African Republic, a nation grappling with a complex and devastating crisis. Here, the threat of violence is a grim reality. Armed groups operate with impunity, and the capital city of Bangui, while considered relatively safer than other areas, is not immune to the turmoil. The US State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, do not travel. This is the highest level of caution, reflecting the extreme risks travelers face. Violent crime is rampant, from armed robberies to carjackings. Kidnappings, often targeting aid workers and foreigners, are a terrifying reality. The security situation can change rapidly, with little to no warning. Demonstrations, often fueled by political instability and socio-economic grievances, can erupt suddenly and escalate into violence. Even seasoned travelers familiar with navigating challenging environments strongly advise against venturing outside the capital. The lack of infrastructure and reliable medical facilities compounds the risks. In the event of an emergency, access to quality healthcare is severely limited. And seeking help from local authorities can be challenging, as corruption and a lack of resources hinder their effectiveness. While the Central African Republic holds a certain allure for the intrepid traveler, the risks are simply too high. The ongoing conflict has created a volatile and unpredictable environment where safety cannot be guaranteed. For now, it remains a destination best admired from afar. Our journey takes us north to the shores of the Mediterranean Sea, to Libya, a nation grappling with the aftermath of revolution and the spectre of ongoing conflict. Once a beacon of progress in North Africa, Libya is now a stark reminder of the fragility of peace. The US State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, do not travel. The security situation is highly volatile, with widespread crime, kidnapping, and the ever-present threat of terrorism. Violent extremist groups, including ISIS affiliates, operate within the country, targeting government facilities, security forces, and civilians. The capital, Tripoli, and other major cities like Benghazi and Misrata are caught in a web of violence and instability. Clashes between rival militias vying for control have become commonplace, turning urban areas into battlegrounds. Even seemingly safe havens like hotels and airports have been targeted in attacks. The FAA has issued strict regulations prohibiting US airlines from operating in Libyan airspace, reflecting the serious concerns about aviation security. The risk of being caught in the crossfire of fighting or becoming a victim of a terrorist attack is a grim reality in Libya. The political landscape remains deeply fractured, with rival governments vying for legitimacy. This power vacuum has fueled lawlessness and allowed criminal networks to flourish. Kidnappings for ransom, often targeting foreigners, are a lucrative business for these groups. While Libya possesses a rich history and stunning archaeological sites, the current security environment makes it impossible to guarantee the safety of travelers. For now, it remains a destination off limits, a poignant symbol of a nation yearning for stability and peace. Our journey continues eastward to the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert, to Mali, a land where ancient wonders stand in stark contrast to the harsh realities of conflict and instability. Once a crossroads of trade and culture, Mali is now grappling with a complex security crisis that has cast a long shadow over its future. The US State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, do not travel. The threat of violent crime, including kidnapping and armed robbery, is a constant concern. Terrorist groups with links to Al-Qaeda and ISIS operate in northern and central Mali, targeting Malian and international security forces as well as civilians. The ancient city of Timbuktu, once a center of Islamic learning and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, has been ravaged by conflict. Extremist groups have destroyed its iconic mosques and mausoleums, erasing centuries of history. The northern regions, including the vast desert expanse, are particularly dangerous, with limited government control and a heavy presence of armed groups. The central region, including the Mopti region, has also witnessed a surge in violence. Intercommunal clashes, fueled by competition for resources and ethnic tensions, have resulted in horrific atrocities and mass displacement. The security situation can change rapidly, with little to no warning, making it extremely difficult to assess risk. Despite the challenges, the Malian people remain resilient, clinging to the hope of peace and stability. However, for now, the risks for travelers are simply too high. Mali's ancient wonders and vibrant culture are held hostage by conflict, a stark reminder of the human cost of instability. Chapter 4. Somalia, a nation haunted by piracy and terrorism. Our journey takes us to the Horn of Africa, to Somalia, a nation synonymous with piracy, terrorism, and protracted conflict. For decades, Somalia has been ravaged by civil war, its people caught in the crossfire of warring factions and the brutal reign of terror inflicted by extremist groups. The US State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, do not travel. The security situation is extremely volatile, with a high threat of kidnapping, hostage-taking, and terrorist attacks. Al-Shabaab, a brutal terrorist organization affiliated with Al-Qaeda, controls large swathes of the country, particularly in the south and central regions. Mogadishu, the capital, while making some strides in recent years, remains a dangerous city. Al-Shabaab frequently targets hotels, restaurants, government buildings, and security checkpoints, carrying out suicide bombings and armed assaults. The airport and surrounding areas are also vulnerable to attack. Piracy, once a scourge off the Somali coast, has decreased in recent years due to international naval patrols. However, the threat remains, and vessels transiting the waters off Somalia are advised to exercise extreme caution. The maritime domain is vast and difficult to patrol, providing ample opportunities for pirates to operate. The lack of a strong central government and the proliferation of weapons have created a climate of impunity. Kidnappings for ransom, often targeting foreigners, are a lucrative business for criminal networks and terrorist groups. The Somali people have endured unimaginable suffering, but the path to peace and stability remains elusive. While Somalia possesses a rich culture and stunning natural beauty, the security situation makes it impossible to guarantee the safety of travelers. For now, it remains a destination off limits, a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the enduring threat of terrorism. Chapter 5. Sudan, a nation in transition, grappling with unrest. Our journey takes us to northeastern Africa, to Sudan, a nation in the throes of a fragile transition, grappling with the legacy of conflict, political upheaval, and a humanitarian crisis. After decades of authoritarian rule, Sudan is striving to forge a new path, but the road to democracy and stability is fraught with challenges. The US State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, do not travel. The security situation remains volatile, with a high threat of crime, terrorism, and civil unrest. Armed conflict persists in the Darfur region, in the states of South Kordofan and Blue Nile, and along the border with South Sudan. The Sudanese government has declared a national state of emergency, granting security forces sweeping powers. While this measure is intended to address security threats, it has also led to concerns about human rights violations, including arbitrary arrests and detentions. Protests, often met with a heavy-handed response from security forces, occur frequently, particularly in the capital, Khartoum. The conflict in Darfur, which began in 2003, has resulted in one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Millions have been displaced, and atrocities have been committed by all sides. While the intensity of the fighting has decreased in recent years, the situation remains volatile, and humanitarian access is often restricted. The Sudanese people have shown incredible resilience in the face of adversity, but the path ahead is uncertain. The transition to democracy is fragile, and the security situation remains precarious. For now, Sudan remains a destination where caution is paramount and travel is not advised. Chapter 6: South Sudan. A young nation struggling for peace. Our journey concludes in South Sudan, the world's youngest nation, born out of conflict and yearning for peace. Since gaining independence from Sudan in 2011, South Sudan has been plagued by civil war, ethnic violence, and a humanitarian catastrophe of staggering proportions. The US State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory: do not travel. The security situation is extremely dangerous, with a high threat of violent crime, kidnapping, and armed conflict. Inter-ethnic clashes, fueled by political rivalries and competition for resources, have resulted in widespread atrocities and mass displacement. The capital, Juba, while relatively calmer than other parts of the country, remains volatile. The presence of armed groups, a weak justice system, and a culture of impunity contribute to a climate of lawlessness. Crimes such as carjackings, robberies, and assaults are common, even in broad daylight. The humanitarian crisis in South Sudan is one of the worst in the world. Millions have been displaced from their homes, and millions more are facing severe food insecurity. The healthcare system is rudimentary, and access to basic services is limited. The US government has limited ability to provide emergency services to US citizens in South Sudan. Despite the immense challenges, the people of South Sudan remain resilient, clinging to the hope of peace and a brighter future. However, the path ahead is long and arduous. For now, South Sudan remains a destination where travel is not advised, a stark reminder of the devastating human cost of conflict and the fragility of peace. Africa is a continent of immense beauty, resilience, and breathtaking diversity. But as we've seen, it's also a continent where safety can be a serious concern. Remember, travel advisories are just that, advisories. They're not meant to scare you off, but to empower you to make informed decisions. Before you embark on your African adventure, do your research. Stay updated on the latest travel advisories from your home country and respect the guidance provided. Your safety is paramount, and understanding the risks is the first step towards mitigating them. Despite the challenges, Africa's allure remains undimmed. With careful planning and a healthy dose of caution, you can experience the magic of this incredible continent. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, experiences, and tips for traveling safely in Africa in the comments below. Let's continue the conversation and learn from each other.